Sorry to keep you waiting, folks. Complicated business. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by Tim and Dustin. You notice we look a little weird tonight. It's because we had camera issues and had to make do with the Plan B.
Which the Plan B is actually a better camera. But...
It is, but for some reason, the Plan B camera tends to overload.
Don't pull out.
Yeah. It tends to be glitchy. I think it has too much resolution and too much data transmission too fast. So if we're having a slow internet night like we often do Sunday nights at 10 p.m., we can have some glitches. But it looks like we're doing all right so far.
We look beautiful.
It looks oranger than normal.
Yeah, we do look
the
orange.
white balance is definitely...
I'm going to change that real quick because I don't like it. So, welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour.
I would ask you, no, don't worry about changing it, but it's kind of making my eyes go,
There you go.
Oh, there we are. We're back to normal again.
Now then.
Back into our normal world.
That's right. So, got that all straightened out?
Well, nice, clean white.
For the most part, all straightened
Well, the
out.
orange kind of felt like we was in like a church, you know, like when they got those you ever seen the fake
Or
stained
an
glass
80s
windows?
basement.
80s basement will work too, because that's kind of what those stained glass windows.
Well, I mean, we are in an 80s basement.
Yes. Is this 80s? Is this
Well, the house was built in 78,
78.
and this remodel was done in the 80s. So the downstairs was done in the 80s. So yeah, I would say it's an 80s basement.
When was the stripper pole put in?
Oh, that would have been
Years ago
yeah,
when we were-
yeah, when we were first starting
Yeah.
corned beef in the Pillbillies.
Y'all ever gonna fix it, or you just like it being dangerous like that?
It's a lot more fun. Jagged edges. You know, it invites a certain type of woman over. You know.
30-degree angle.
Yeah.
It's canted a little bit.
Well, it's been kicked a few times. You get a couple of good donkey kicks and a pole from an angry lady, and
Been using it to top livestock.
Yeah.
you could say that. You could say that. Livestock.
It's got 250-pound weights at the bottom.
But we're welcome to jump on it anytime, Tim. We'll turn the camera that away and pick
I
you
don't
up.
think I'll touch that.
You forgot the tassels, didn't
Have you not had a tetanus shot lately? Probably.
I'm not worried about tetanus. I'm worried about things that lurk in butt cheeks.
Tetanus could
What's
be
up,
one of them. Alvin's in the chat. What's up? He says game on. Yeah, but yeah, it's good to have you with us, folks. That was bringing us in. I think that was Ukrainian, Russian, Czech. I don't really know.
Tuska is the name of the band.
Yeah, I shared the link there in the description.
Where do you think they're from?
I know where they're from, but I can't. I think it's Ukrainian.
If I knew how to type the name and not Cyrillic, I might be able to find them and find out who they were exactly. But no, that's not Babushka, because Babushka was one of the. Well, I don't know, maybe it was, but it was a recommended.
Did you?
Tuska.
Bathuska. Okay, it was a recommended. It was a recommended.
I don't even know. Yeah, that's.
There you go.
Polish.
Polish.
Okay.
Okay. How about that?
I thought they were Ukrainian, but I was like, that's wrong. They're not Ukrainian, they're Polish.
Bathus.
But it looks like Batialka. But
Yeah, those are letters I don't recognize.
yeah, I don't know that. But this is who they are.
Well, they got
Bathuska.
1,000 months listeners. Not too bad. For
Not
such a
too
genre.
bad. Yeah.
Pretty good.
I dig the Gregorian chant stuff. That was why I put it on here, because I was really enjoying that when I was listening to it the other day, and I thought that would be a good show to open up our AI movie roundup. I guess we call it that. We've done a lot of stuff about AI. This is going to be more focused on movies, though. So I did want to look at some in particular. Where you talked about Runaway. That was one. I talked about Demon Seed, and we've talked about the Terminator, and we've talked about
Trek.
yeah.
Episode of The Twilight Zone.
Several Black Mirrors.
Black Mirror's just running with like
Love and Robot, or
teasing
Love,
you
Death,
with
and
modernity
Robots.
carrot.
You ever seen Love, Death, and Robots?
First season. Yeah.
Good show.
I like the one that was done in like sort of the feudal, semi-feudal, like modern Japan.
Yeah, that one
like
was
how
cool.
the technology was killing all the magic.
Well, I've always said that really, when people describe magic, and you look at magic in old texts, it's probably they were describing some sort of technology. Now, it might not be modern technology with silicone and semiconductors and stuff like that, but I feel like it was some kind of what is magic other than directing energy into a certain pattern and where you can manipulate the energy to work for you, which would pretty much sum up modern electronic technology. You look at a computer.
Sum up that into all kinds of things, even psychology and people manipulation, because it's a transfer of energy.
Yeah.
That's even theater.
Yeah.
If you can get energy moving in there. But you can get real geeky and real phony baloney with it real fast when you get these chaos magicians that think they can take charcoal and scribble Full Metal Alchemist crap on the floor and affect the presidency and stuff. Maybe they can. Maybe they're not wasting their time, but that seems like a waste of energy. Y'all see how like when I get tired, for some reason my left eye wants to like blink halfway shut, and I start looking like the guy from I start looking like the guy from Braveheart that went feral on the dude at the end when he had to wait at his wife.
Dalton has the book Demon Seed. He ain't read it yet. And the first two Terminator probably in top 5 movies with Rambo, First Blood. They Live and Escape from New York.
In your chat there,
brother. I'm right there with you. Those are some of my favorite movies too.
They Live.
Oh, okay. I thought it was blocking your thing.
Both of them. They Live and Escape from New York.
The book Demon Seed, I did not know that it existed. The movie was made in the 70s, and it was about a guy who had created an AI house, and basically I think he had a woman that he kept captive in there, and but the thing that was really interesting to me about it, they made a movie a few years ago. I can't remember the name of it. It was a Netflix film where the dude was keeping the chick
I know exactly.
captive in the house.
Mention that, and the name just blanked out.
Yeah,
He was keeping a chick captive in a house.
He had like an AI house.
It had the word Deus in it.
It was it
wasn't Deus Ex Machina, was it?
No, it was a reference to Deus Ex Machina, but it was something else.
May just been Deus. No.
It may have been.
Blade
Got
Runner
the Google right
has
there.
AI in it.
Let's look it up here. Yeah, Blade Runner could definitely be.
That one.
Let's
Which
see.
is fun because in Aether we re-recorded a track that was basically on my Prophet I used a channel that's basically
Hey, I Love You.
no,
I don't think
that was an
that's it.
anime first.
I don't think that's it.
It,
Let's see.
Or a manga,
basically
at least.
I'm using the Blade Runner soundtrack theme from the original Blade Runner. So
You should do one with the Terminator.
I did watch. I watched over the weekend. Apparently, it's a graphic novel. I'd never heard of it. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. You ever seen that? Heard of that?
I knew it's a graphic novel. I watched the movie in theaters.
It was okay.
Well, my only point, and I'll leave it be, as an amazing critic, the only problem I had with the movie was they cast the wrong male lead.
I didn't. I thought so too. And the wrong female lead. Honestly, I didn't like either one of them.
Well, like I think the dynamic would have been completely fixed, but like it just wasn't believable. Like the guy that plays that, even in the books, is just a giant. He looks like he's like a handsome Duke Nukem. Like he's a big dude, and it's supposed to. And like in the guy
movie with a little skinny dude looked like he was like 17.
It was the dude that was in what's the movie where they go touch that asteroid and they get telekinetic powers, and it's kind of shot like a Cloverfield.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? Trying to think of another movie. He's kind of sick looking. He's I mean, I know he's like a heartthrob for a lot of girls, but he kind of has this look like he's kind of sick.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's just
sallow looking.
It would be like casting me in a Rocky movie.
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would be.
You could tone me up, but it's not. It's still not going to make me 6'4".
Yeah, I think actually you're making you saying that is actually would be an exaggeration. You being in a Rocky movie is kind of an exaggeration of what this film was, because the dude was a beanpole. And
okay, the one movie I think we're talking about, it doesn't have the word Deus. The rest of it's Ex Machina.
That looks right.
Oh, okay.
That looks right.
That's the one I'm thinking of, at least.
I don't think that's what I'm thinking of, actually.
It basically had a dude that had like a social media thing, and he was like a stuff, and this guy invites him over to work on this AI stuff, and then he figures out that it's,
The Circle. I didn't watch it, but that's a social media one. I doubt it has any AI in it, though, does it?
The Circle? I don't know.
Is it called The Circle? It has Tom Hanks, so you could probably find that pretty easy. It was about like it's supposed to be like talking about like Google or whatever. Like people go to work for this big company and it's like a family, and it gets creepy or something. Didn't watch it.
Well, you were talking about
her dating an AI. It's just in phone.
You were talking about magic also as far as the psychological perspective.
Yes.
And
So that's it right there.
I would say, is that it?
She just changes her faces out and stuff.
Yeah, that is it.
Well, yeah, he had different prototypes for her. This dude was trying to be like, okay, you're like one of the best at making these. It's like, tell me whenever you're like, she's like basically human. And it's like indistinguishable with using, a live person to tell.
Cloud Atlas. That was one of them we brought up.
Now, did that have a lot of AI in it? Or?
It just one of the realities is when they're in those girl robots that service that restaurant.
Oh yeah, it's very end of it.
Yeah. Well, almost. It's like at the very end of it, but I don't know how the book would play out. But in the movie, it's running side by side with him running with Tom Hanks and the weird hillbilly accent running from the headhunters in the woods for some reason with Halle Berry, who's a terrible actress. I'm sorry. Catwoman just sunk her forever.
The only, I don't know if you remember the movie Monsters Ball. I didn't find it to be a great movie, but
I don't think I watched it.
It was Billy Bob Thornton banging the shit out of Halle Berry in it.
Did he write the movie just so he could do that?
But it had
Super necessary.
Had a real graphic sex scene for the for I think it was the late '90s, early 2000s.
That was their punishment for Catwoman.
It was right after Sling Blade.
No, it wasn't Catwoman I hated. It was the Tomorrow Never Dies or whichever one with the Bond villain had the diamonds in his face.
Yeah, she wasn't good in
that. Was the worst Bond movie. They can't make make one worse.
I liked Halle Berry in the Monsters Ball and one other film, and I can't think of it now. It was
Was she in Swordfish?
Swordfish. That was it. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Disturbia was
Disturbia is good too.
I don't think. I mean, maybe she's an okay actress, but she sucked a storm too.
Yeah, I wasn't fixing her storm.
Oh well, then again, she may have watched the cartoon and went, "I need to do that." All right.
I don't know. She didn't do it for me as Storm. I forgot that even was Storm. I've talked.
Well, because it's like she's not.
She was nothing. She wasn't dramatic. Storm was super dramatic,
and
she didn't even do that, did she? She was like pretty underwhelming.
Well, I've talked about movies in the past, and as far as like comic book movies and stuff, and how I'm kind of burnt out on them. At least I think I've talked about it online. I know I've talked with you about it, Tim. And one of the things was that I was never a huge comic book person, but I read X-Men comic books. I had Superman. I
did Spider-Man as a child.
My main thing was X-Men.
I had Wolverine, X-Men, a couple other ones. Deadpool, Gambit.
X-Men. And
I actually had quite a bit of comics. Me and my brother Chad had quite a bunch of them.
Well, I was not like ever super into them, like some friends of mine that were really, really into them and, collected all of them and everything. But I liked the comic book characters and I like to read comic books, and that seemed like the best medium for that kind of storytelling. Except maybe the cartoons were good. The cartoon X-Men was good.
Yeah, all the 90s.
The cartoon Gargoyles even was good.
The 97 Spider-Man was really good.
I'm sorry.
I don't think I watched that.
Do you remember the scene? It's like I found it the other day on a darkest parts of 90s cartoon humor, because there's quite a few of them. Yeah. There's a scene where Peter Parker does all this, like saves a girl or something like that, and then for some reason at the end, and it's one of these out of context ones, he saves this girl, and then for some weird reason we're all like audience members like, why's he doing this? She's like, can I know who you really are? And he's like, sure, I know you'll never tell. And he takes his mask off and she's like, oh, you're Peter Parker, blah blah blah. And they make friends, and then he leaves and flies out the window, and it reveals that it's a hospital for the terminally ill. Oh, she's never gonna tell me she's about to die. And it's like, geez, that was a little heavy to drop on us. Lucky I didn't know what terminally ill meant when I was 4.
I mean,
I was 8, but
Spider-Man, I mean, he was like a kind of a snarky asshole about things. So.
Well, I guess he was just being nice. It's just a weird thing for the people that created the comic book or the series to throw in there.
But
you ever hear how he talks to people he don't like? So I mean,
well, with the comic books though, my thing was they started making so many movies out of the comic books. Like it used to be, you'd get like a Masters of the Universe, which was
awesomely bad.
Yeah, yeah. You'd get occasionally you'd get a movie. You'd get a Superman movie or a Batman movie every 5 years or so. You'd get a Spider-Man movie. Well, I guess that didn't really start till the early 2000s.
Spider-Man with
and then the X-Men started in the early 2000s. It was like you'd have a comic book movie every few years, ever so on.
It's Tobey Maguire. Yeah. Earlier 2000. What?
When was that one?
It was
early 2000s or late 90s.
It was like 2001-ish, 2002.
Okay. Just try to get the time frame in my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought those were pretty good movies. I thought the X-Men, first couple X-Men movies were decent.
The thing I hated on the first ones, they didn't get to a fourth one because they were leading up to have because Sam Raimi did it.
Mm-hmm.
He was leading up because Bruce Campbell was a different character in every film. They were leading him up to be Mysterio.
Were they really? Man, I hate that because I remember I got really excited when I saw the first Spider-Man film and noticed it was a Sam Raimi one, and I think that was his probably first big mainstream film. I mean, he did, of course, The Evil Dead and Army of Darkness and stuff like that. And he
to that level. Of
for a big blockbuster film, I think that was his first one. And I was kind of surprised to see him directed something like that, to be honest. But he did a good job. I thought the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans were good films, and they were spaced out. They didn't overwhelm me. But now it's like.
Besides the fact in the third one they did kind of underutilize Venom.
Well, the third one they also cast friggin' Topher Grace as Venom.
I thought he was good though.
No.
I thought he was pretty good.
Eddie Brock was way better as Tom Hardy. Because he's supposed to be a big beefcake. Even in the cartoons, he's like this giant weightlifter guy.
True.
Literally jealous of Peter Parker because Eddie Brock's stupid. Like he's a dumbass, and
They
the symbiote
kind of
actually
switched that out. Yeah.
does most of the thinking for him.
Yeah.
Actually, like he's a brute, and they met you halfway with the Tom Hardy. They made him dumb, but not so stupid he couldn't function.
Well,
because the original, like you said, the original Eddie Brock, he was just some big beefcake.
Mm-hmm. And Topher Grace was literally just another version of Spider-Man.
yeah, he was. He was an alternate
actually
Peter Parker.
more like Spider-Man than
Maguire.
was, because Maguire's not near big smart Alec.
Yeah, he's kind of more subdued.
Spider-Man would definitely, if the Facebooks and stuff were around back then, he would definitely be the shit posters.
Yeah, I thought Garfield was a better shit talker as a Spider-Man.
I guess what I'm getting
That's as far as I take it, because I thought Lizard was poorly done too.
Well, to bring it back around, my point was like we had all these
Spider-Man with passion.
Well, we had all these films, right? And like we've been overwhelmed with the Thor films, with the Marvel films, with the multiverse films, with really, I mean, DC's even overdone it. I don't need a Batman or Superman every 2 years, you know. I always preferred to read this in the comic book.
The fact that they freaking canned the only good Superman we've had in the last forever.
I think he quit because he didn't like the direction. Henry Cavill.
No, he was. Something may have came out, but they pretty much just axed like everyone besides the ones they wanted to keep.
But yeah, I think the main thing that I don't like about it is they took these stories that were kind of. They were kind of for nerds. They were kind of like
for kids.
They were but they weren't for every kid, and that was the main thing. Is like they were for kids.
Now.
That's what I don't like about it. When I was a kid, you would you might even get beat up.
Cliff.
You might even get beat up because you were into like X-Men and stuff.
The only thing that I ever got a hard time for, I didn't get a hard time from anybody about X-Men or anything like that. But once we all got to high school, everybody suddenly kept it a secret that we still kind of was in. Like we didn't talk about video games even until probably a little bit later in high school. The one thing that I got a little bit of flack for, that I was like, I came into tested at church first because it's a safe place to the Baptist church. Baptist church will let anything slide almost. You got deacons smoking outside on on break, not break from church. Anyway,
that's how they get those singing voices.
Yeah, that's how they get that. That's how they get that mountain voice.
Yep.
I wore a Dragon Ball Z shirt into a Baptist church. I'm talking when this thing was, no one was into this. Like this is way before Israel Adesanya out there rolling pokeballs at people and shit or whatever he did. And people were like, what are Dragon Balls? And I did not have to explain to them that this did not say Dragon Balls. I had no idea how to explain that this is actually a cool art style that you should appreciate because it has fast action. So I just didn't say anything. I just didn't wear it again.
I started trying to draw everything like Akira Toriyama in the mid-90s, and whenever I got into the Dragon Ball, it's like
Chrono Trigger is what made me start.
Yeah, me too.
Anime. I didn't even know what anime was called.
That's what got me into Dragon Ball, was seeing Chrono Trigger. I don't know, it might have been, it was probably Secret of Mana, because it was before I played Chrono Trigger that I knew who Akira Toriyama was.
I watched like a 2.5 hour video about like deep dive into the lore of Chrono Trigger
Really?
about 2 weeks ago.
Man, that was
We
a good
need to do a
game.
hillbilly version or an Appalachian version of the soundtrack.
Hey, Alvin.
I think
Thanks,
it was
brother.
really cool.
See you later, brother. But God bless. Yeah, he's getting bored of our 90s.
It's like, what's a Chrono
90s,
Trigger?
Yeah.
It's a time travel game, Alan. It's deeply involved with Q and Trump.
Well, the point is,
Go play
though,
it.
this is stuff for us nerds and losers in high school and middle school
Okay, did you
to
like
talk
Chrono
with.
Cross?
I did, but I only ever got to the part where you lost your way and you had to find the ship, and I got through the first disc of it 2 times, and I got lost. It was before the internet was readily
I think
available.
Back then, it's like I
never finished
never
it.
did beat it. I remember I'm like 80%, maybe even further. I'm like 80% through the game. I got stuck at one. I got kind of soft locked at like one of the bosses at the end,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I'm not prepared enough,
Yeah.
and I could.
Nowhere to go to level up or any way to get out to.
Yeah, because basically it's like I'm saved, and then the boss is right there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't get on.
How many
I-
endings did you get on Chrono Trigger?
But
How many endings did you get on Chrono Trigger?
I've done all of them because I would
You-
play it
well,
over and
13
over again.
in there.
Yeah, but you can play it through when you play through it. On New Game Plus, you can beat the game multiple times as you go
Yeah.
through. So if you just constantly beat the game and then continue on, you'll get all the endings eventually.
I think I got to like maybe 7 or something like that. I geeked out on that game so much, honestly, over like the soundtrack and stuff, that I wasted a lot of time. It was like one of the first games that I treated like an open world game that wasn't.
Man, it wasn't,
'Cause I
but
like,
it was.
let's go race that dude again before I go to the next area, because
Yeah.
it's fun racing the the dude. Or,
You got to go race bet Cadillac to win, or the Shining Knight, or whatever his name is, and then you go beat Lavos then, and then you go, back in time to the next place, then you go beat Lavos then. That's how you eventually get all the
had,
endings.
what's his face? The dude that has the Arab sound. I've had that boss music stuck in my head my entire life at this point. I can't think of his
The
name.
Sky Boss,
What is his name?
when you're on the floating island.
No, it's the wizard dude. That's like
Magus?
is it Magus?
When you fight him in the castle?
Yeah, I guess it is. It is
yeah, that's
Magus.
a good music.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't realize how Middle Eastern it sounded until I listened to it again recently.
I hadn't really thought about it. But to wrap my point up here, this is supposed to be stuff for us geeks, nerds, losers, and freaks, and now they've mainstreamed it to everybody, and it sucks, and I don't want everybody to like Marvel, and I don't want everybody to like, comic book stuff. I want a shitty movie every 5 years that us comic book nerds can go out and watch and talk about amongst each other, and nobody else knows what the fuck we're talking about. That's what I want. That's kind of like, I don't know, gatekeeping, I guess, like you said, Tim.
You could just regress to some indie comics that nobody's ever going to touch.
I could, but it's not even the same thing, man.
or you just go like
some pretty good indie
just go
comics
like
out there.
weird stuff. Did you ever see the Guyver?
The Guyver, yeah, back on Sci-Fi back in the 90s, yeah.
The two 90s films that had David Hayter, who after
Solid
that became
Snake.
Solid Snake.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was looking, whenever it didn't connect that, I was just like, this guy sounds awfully familiar. And then it's just like, oh, that's why I know this guy.
Burl.
Because he didn't do the gruff voice all the time, but whenever he would get mad, you're like, I know that voice. It's like, who is this?
But yeah, that's my wrap up on that thing. Like we used to get beat up, or some of us got beat up. I never did, but kids got beat up for liking that stuff, and now everybody's like, "Oh, I like Spider-Man too."
Video games,
and then but it's not just that people like it; they watered it down so everybody would like it.
I remember
Gentrified it.
Yeah, exactly.
computers. Being a computer person would get you hammered at one point in video games, and so it's like anything that would get you beat up at one point eventually becomes super normalized.
Yeah, and it's because everybody wants to do something unique, so they go and like
And
pick.
the fact that I can't build a bitchin' PC for $500 now.
Is that inflation, or is that just because
Both.
people?
That's video cards for one. Video
Well,
cards
yeah.
are kind of crazy.
They're still stupid. Well,
They
because
have
that
come
was
back down a lot.
the semiconductor, all the chip shortages and stuff, and they raised the prices, and then people kept paying it, and they're like, hey, we're not going to lower them down to
Yeah.
what they should be.
But that's a good way to bring us back around. We're talking about semiconductors, and we're talking about graphics cards. We're talking about microprocessors. We're talking about the Terminator films, and that microprocessor played a major role in those films, if you recall.
And why do so many ancient religions worship sun gods? because the sun EMPs the AI whenever we create it every time. Because we've done
That's
this
what
multiple
wipes
times.
us out every time. Yeah, and Tim was
And that's
talking
why
about.
we worship it, because it killed the robot overlords that we created and damned us.
Last time.
Makes sense, yeah.
And the time before that.
Yeah.
In the
And the time before that. Yeah.
And somewhere out there
The
is
Shark Tank,
a
they were AI.
And the sun also it kills off the sun kills off the bacteria. It kills off the
twist. But the Jurassic Park creatures, like when they
Ooh.
bring them, they realize the Jurassic Park creatures were like AIs or something. What if we're AIs?
we could be. I mean, really, humans could be AIs who were unleashed on the planet Earth.
Gooey AIs. Do you reckon? I had this thought today, and this is on the same plane of existence as the Terminator. Do you think that when a robot, let's pretend we evolved, we turn into robots or whatever, and those robots have been exploring the outer space, and they came back down to Earth expecting to find things as they left them or whatever, and it turns out, crap, humans have evolved quite a bit and they're nasty now.
Kind of like WALL-E.
Do you think robots, being the T-1000 gets off the ship and looks at grass and goes, I don't want to touch that? You think we like grass?
Yeah.
But that is a very personal experience. I don't want to walk up there and touch one of those trees that has some sap pouring out of it. That's nasty. But a slug or something would love that. So everything is in relation. I wonder, would a robot in its purest robot form look at grass and all the things of the world and go, hey, look at all this stuff that could tear me up?
There's a
Because
defect with this world, yeah.
everything in this world is designed to tear up electronics, even dust. They come off the ship with like plastic bags walking out with hazmat suits because they're so afraid of how much dust is out here.
That could explain why the Terminators made themselves cybernetic organisms, maybe to protect themselves from the natural environment.
They could have killed the T800 with
Well,
a dirty filter.
Well, I mean, I guess if you look at it into that, they made that because for some reason inorganic material could not pass through their time travel, so they had to put a living.
To surround it, but
You had to surround it with
but it was also they wanted the
And they also
Terminator to be
wanted
able to
to blend
pass,
in.
yeah. And
Because that's why they kept dogs, because the dogs could tell the people. If you look in the first thing when they're going to the hotel and Reese is there, he's petting the dog, and he's because the
They
people
know
from the
somehow.
future, they have the fascination. They love dogs because dogs keep them safe. So he's like, "Hey, doggy," in there. And I don't know if the higher end ones of the 800s and stuff, if the dogs could. That's something they never said.
well, they kind of
because the older ones,
the
the
T101s.
ones that were basically
Was it an 800 in the first one?
well, the
Amherst
the
was
one in the
one,
very first one, they said it was a T101, but then they turned it to the second one as a T800.
I think it's just a continuity issue myself.
It's interchangeable just with
Okay.
continuity from the film.
Yeah.
But, the ones before the 800s, where there's basically just rubber man suit over robot.
Okay, that's the
More
one
or less.
that's the one that storms the bunker that the dogs start
Yeah,
barking
that's the
at.
ones that
Okay.
the dogs can definitely tell anything older, but I don't know about
If he could tell. Okay.
800s or.
Did the dogs bark at the 800 at any point in the movies?
Not
I
that
don't
I
remember if
recall.
they
I
were actually.
don't recall them ever being around them.
Yeah, I don't remember them being around any animals with any of the.
I do. I just don't remember where, because context matters. Because I think there's one at the very beginning. The dogs are barking, but he goes in there and kicks a dude's ass and steals his box.
Well, it could be also from the disturbance of the time travel too. It's a very
electric experience.
it's a very major.
Well, one of the things you notice in the Terminator films is it's kind of the robots, and whether it be Arnold Schwarzenegger's character or Robert Patrick's his name in the second film, or the chick in the third film. One of the things that they have in common is while the villain is personified by this robot, ultimately the villain is the AI system, the Skynet, which we've talked about Skynet in some films before, or in some of our episodes before, and we actually even had an episode titled Skynet about AI. But we kind of don't really realize that these Terminators are sent back, or well, I guess we do realize it, but it's kind of understated that they're sent back at the behest of the AI, and the Skynet ultimately is who figures out how to send these things back and sends them back to where they are, and the humans basically take advantage of the same technology and send their own back, but the Skynet ultimately is the villain, but it's kind of like Sauron, I guess, in the Lord of the Rings. It's in the background. It's all there pulling all the strings, but yet you've got your Sarumans, you've got your fighting Urukais who are presented as the most immediate threats. But you kind of have the Skynet lurking in the back, and we really get into that in Terminator 3, which is non-canon now, but which is actually one of my favorites. I really like Terminator 3. A lot of people didn't like it.
The robot, I don't mind her being a girl or anything. Like, it doesn't make sense to me as the design.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is it an upgrade to add a metal skeleton back into the mix?
Because she can make complex machines, though.
Well, he could too. Well, he might
he
not be able to
couldn't.
make a
He wasn't able to make guns or machines out of the liquid.
That's also how they killed her. Is like they were able to stick her to a wall and rip her heart out, or whatever, because it was magnetized. Anyway, to a more valid point, don't you think the liquid metal makes a whole lot more sense if we replace that with nanobots?
Yeah, I think so. And really, even like nanobots, you could form a solid skeleton that would could make machinery, and that could even be really how the I don't remember what her name is, what her model number is in Terminator 3, but she could spin herself around and create.
2008.
Is that right?
No, it's just boob on calculator.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking you were going with. It was the boob, T-boob, the TX. I believe you're right. Yeah.
TX.
But
I call her Texas.
One of the reasons that I like that movie that is one of my favorites is the some of the fighting scenes between Schwarzenegger and whatever her name is, I can't remember, but Texas, between T-800 in Texas, but they're so robotic compared to even the other films. When Robert Patrick and Schwarzenegger are fighting each other in the hallway in the mall there in Terminator 2, yeah, you do kind of have that, but it's like taken to a whole nother level with the fight, especially near the end with Schwarzenegger and fighting, and they're fighting in the bathroom, and they're just like they both those actors and the director did a brilliant job with making it look like two robots fighting. And
you are correct.
And that scene where they go down,
pop lock dances, show them how to do that. No.
The scene where they're going down is one of my favorite action sequences in any movies of all time. It might even be my favorite, but I have a hard time quantifying favorites. But where they're driving downtown and there's the ambulance chase, the TX is controlling all the vehicles, because this movie took place in the early 2000s, by which time all these police vehicles and modern vehicles are susceptible to drive-by-wire if you have the right input, and she did, and was able to take these things over and use them. Basically, as the AI within her was controlling all the other vehicles they were chasing, and you got Schwarzenegger hanging on the damn on the wrecking ball on the truck and swinging back, and I love when he kicks the ambulance. That's one of my favorite parts. But that was one of the last like real practical effects scenes in an action movie where they did almost all practical effects. They destroyed like 3 city blocks. They only had one take to do it, and they nailed it. And it's just such a good action sequence. But that Terminator movie gets shit on a lot. I'm not sure exactly why. I
didn't hate it. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I'll be honest, I don't remember anything except for the action stuff that you're talking about.
Well, I love it, and one of the things that I thought was really good about it was that they talk about no fate except what you make. Except what we make.
Be red. There we go.
No fate but what we make. But I thought it was interesting because it was kind of, and this may be why people didn't like it. It was kind of counterintuitive because they thought they had stopped Judgment Day, but it turned out Judgment Day was going to happen no matter what, and that was a major plot point of the film. But I kind of liked it because no matter how much you could go back and try to change things, there's the past is they're changing the past ultimately, so the future is on the track that it's on. So even going back and changing things, it kind of falls right into the time machine and
realities is all they did and created 2 timelines.
I guess that's possible too. Yeah,
the Mandela effect.
And that was one of the reasons I really didn't like the newer ones, the Dark Fate and
what was the one before that? Genesis?
Salvation. Genesis was first, and then Salvation. I've seen them, but I found them both very unmemorable, and I did not care.
And bleak is what I got.
Yeah, Christian Bale was the one who played John Connor in the one, and
that was fine, but it was very
that one
dark and bleak.
I was like,
I thought it was okay.
They were trying to blend in using more of a human in with it. I was like, that's kind of a neat way of that they're adapting to try to.
No, I thought the concept was
final goal.
good. I thought the execution was just meh. I just didn't care about it. Didn't find it memorable. I didn't hate it like Dark Fate. I really hated Dark Fate. I thought it was awful. It's like they tried to ruin it, and so many things I could get into in Dark Fate about how they messed it up. But we're here to talk about AI, and we're here to talk about how we've seen it in movies versus what
How
it is.
it's going to take all the jobs in Hollywood because it'll do a better job than what they are and all that stuff.
Yeah, but you think about it. There's not just anybody you can't. Okay, you tell an AI to make you a movie. Okay, it'll make you a movie, but it's not going to be, and maybe eventually it will be, but you're still going to have to be somebody to guide that and give it the inputs and ideas to make it appealing to humans.
What if let's pretend this AI that you've got has reached the point where it can make that movie that you think is 2 thumbs up, right?
Okay.
Even 4 or 5 thumbs up.
You got AI, you can have as many thumbs as you need.
Exactly. As many cliff thumbs as we can give them. And you say it has to have a creator, but what if the AI is plugged up to all of our social medias and stuff, and our threads and all of our internet stuff, and it just gathers it from there and goes, well, I know what this group of people will like and this group of people like. And because right now we're the ones ruining it because we gave birth to a bunch of millennial people.
That's the whole point of social media.
Decided that you can't say certain things and stuff. The AI is not going to worry about that. It's going to exactly the perfect movies to make for every group of people.
Yeah, for right now, the AI is being restricted by the you could call it the woke group or whatever, but the Chat GPT and stuff, it's programmed by woke rules. We'll just call it woke is a colloquial term.
There has to be those out there that aren't bound by other individuals' rules. But right now, there's no AI guiding Hollywood, and it still sucks.
But what you can do,
bias controlling it.
But AI I mean, Hollywood is run by the whole. I don't even know what you call it now, but it's like the angry feminist crew or something. That's
always has been. They just went wild.
Well, maybe so, but I mean, they've even got James Cameron. We were talking about Terminator, talking about how he had toxic masculinity and too much testosterone, and he wasn't going to use guns in his movies anymore, and like nobody, and like wanting other people to not, and like, dude, you made some of the best movies of all time with guns, and no, that's what I'm saying though. They've taken it too far. They've even sucked in James Cameron, but
They'll come back.
But the thing is with the AI, it still requires somebody to kind of prompt it and tell it what to do. It's not going to just immediately make the movie.
But what if it could?
Well, eventually it will be able to. Yeah, eventually it will be able to. But I still think there'll be something. And now, if you've listened to like AI music, have you heard any of the stuff where they're like, I can't remember, it's Drake and somebody, but they made a song. They were like, AI make a song that's like a combination of it sounds like Drake featuring some other famous R&B or rap guy, and people are like, "Fuck yeah, that song's awesome!" And that tells you how bad modern hip hop is, that you can't tell the difference between this crappy. Not that they can't make a beat. AI can make a cool beat, but the rap was garbage.
AI amplification. Have you seen that?
Like instrument amplification? No, I have not.
Like profilers. Do you know what those are?
Like the fractal program? Yeah.
All those different things. For people that don't, because musicians here, we all know, there's been a war between what is known as solid state and tube in the guitar world since the two sides rose from the primordial.
Solid state started in the late 60s.
I won't tell you the difference. Tube, big old glass things, solid state little circuits. We'll leave out. Guitar players argue about tone. I'll leave it right there not to bore you. But
and then we run it through 35 pedals.
Yeah, all this stuff. But they've made this thing that's called a profiler that listens to the amp that you want, and it just mimics it and mimics how that thing's, and it sounds exactly like it. I don't use them in case anybody's like, oh, like a tone Nazi or something. But when everything gets to the point where you're no longer looking for that perfect pursuit of tone and stuff, you start losing creativity. And what I'm saying is, as soon as everything gets automated, you're going to have like a feedback loop that's going to get perverted at some point, because it's like the process of creation is actually hindered when you make things easier.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So if you start making our own methods of entertainment completely detached from us, we're going to start losing so much creativity that I don't even think we're going to be able to entertain ourselves. Like, it's going to be like the AI will send us exactly what we want, and we're going to hate it.
No, I will say, I've had digital, I've had analog, I've had I returned it, but I had one of the fractal modeling pedals, and it was pretty cool.
I will say the portability is a lot nicer. You know, it's a lot nicer to pull around this little rack unit rather than a big tube head.
Especially if you're gigging at a big place where you're running everything through PA anyway. You know, you
some of the best. You know, there have been some venues.
Best sound I ever had was those. I'm telling you, because I ran it straight through the board. I didn't have to worry about any of that. And I was like, I just don't.
It's like. There were some, it's like you go, like some of the Summer Slaughter tours, the bands that sounded the best, they all ran modeling. And it's like you had both guitars and the bass run through it because it's like you couldn't screw it up. Everything was clear. You could hear the bass, both guitars, nothing was overpowering each other. Yeah. And it's like, you're like, okay. And then the next band comes up and they're all using tube amps and you can't hear shit.
It is superior. I mean, it just is. And what I'm saying is, I don't have to like it to know where things are going. I could admit when things are better. I like the idea of having to sit there for like a couple of days trying to dial in the perfect tone for my amp and stuff because I'm a geek for that stuff. But I recognize, man, if I was going on the road, if I actually got on the road in some dream fantasy situation where I had like a big setup, I would take the Fractal. Dude, there's no way in the world I'd like. I was in one band.
What you do is you have your setup at home and do all your meddling, and then you just copy it onto that.
Yeah, I still want all my goofy, dark, nasty tubes and stuff, but like I've seen bands like tip their stuff and like just glass go everywhere, but now they don't have an amp, like, you know, and like I don't, it's easier, it is better, and that is the direction that not just amplification is going in. That is the way everything's going in. It feels like there's going to be like a terminal velocity where we're going to get bored of it and start wanting to go the other direction.
It is better for live performances, and like one of the neat things about the Fractal setup that I had was you could do like unlimited loops on it, and you could just you could record anything and then loop it back over each other, and you could just keep looping and looping and looping. You can make a whole symphony just running through this thing, and I had a lot of fun with that. But just the pure and really that analog setup right there that I don't know, y'all can't see it in the corner over there, but it's all analog pedals and an analog tube amp, and I liked the sound better from that versus the modeling setup that I had. But the modeling setup definitely would have been easier because I wouldn't have had a lot of the problems that I had setting that up to play live. But I like you were talking about with the creativity thing, like I'll sit and tweak and okay, I can tweak my delay, turn it back to the right setting, then tweak my tremolo to match that. And you could do all that on a Fractal setup, but you'd have to go through menus. Right now, I can just turn the fucking knob, and I can ease the knob, and I can turn this knob, and I can do two knobs at the same time. And that was one of the things I really liked about watching Dan from Indie Ghost, is he would do some really cool stuff where he would use his pedals to tweak his sound while he was playing. He'd hit a chord and go and adjust it. He would be constantly messing with his pedals.
Most of the people that I know that use the Fractals don't use the pedals. They use the actual, like, the head unit. And to touch on the point you're saying, you said all the tube ones sounded bad, and the reason for that is you have to push tube heads to get them to sound correctly. Man, the couple of times that I ran sound for people that had Fractal units, you don't have to push them. You can still get them to break up and sizzle the way a big heavy distortion is supposed to. And I didn't have to push it, like, because they're not mic'd. They're running straight into the mains, and they've got the little monitors. More technology just is better, but can you imagine a Fractal head tearing up? There ain't no way in the world I could fix it. I don't even know what I'm looking at in there.
Yeah, you just have to scrap it and get another one.
Yeah, it's just a circuit board, so if it fries, it's...
Yeah, I'm always looking at like an end of the world scenario for some reason. That's just where my head automatically goes. Well, it's like if I buy this, if the world ends and I'm the only person left, can I fix this thing? Which is no to almost everything I own, but it still goes through my head because I'm an idiot.
With like the solid state and transistor stuff, man, you could get really good sounds out of it, and your audience is probably not going to know the difference between your tube and your transistor head. Mm-hmm. But as a player, I can tell the difference. I don't even know if it's the sound. It's like some of the feedback in the strings almost. I can feel a difference in it. And
tube amp pushes and pulls with you. A solid state does not. It's a constant state of a flow of energy, and tube's not like that. I have to say I did get a pretty groovy tube tone I have a Seymour Duncan power amp. It's just D-class wiring or whatever. It's just completely solid state, so the cleanest tone you can get. No color to it whatsoever. But I ran it's a Marshall amp tube preamp in front of it that has like one little tube inside of it, and it messes the sound up just enough to where it sounds pretty damn tubey. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Which, I mean, I'm a bassist, so it's like sometimes it's more...
a bass tube pedal, have you seen that? It's called the Edison.
Well, they have
my Aguilar, my Tonehammer 500. It's like that's been the best head I've ever had. I mean, because it's small, it's a Class D. It weighs barely 8 pounds. Pushes 500 watts.
Sounds very woody though.
It doesn't sound solid state and tiny. It's like it actually.
It has a woody sound to it. Is the only way I know how to describe it. It's really nice. That's something I like about it, even when you're doing heavy music and stuff.
Which is fun because I don't change any of my settings. I can go play country, straight to death metal, and I don't. The only thing I change is where my strumming hand is.
See, I have to change everything to change from country to death metal. I have to have a different guitar. I have to have a different pedal. I could probably play that amp death metal with the right pedal set up, but pretty much everything on my
Fender Princeton death metal.
Yeah.
Because when we were playing a lot, it's like Decade was playing a lot. It's like literally like I'd have a show a week apart from each other, and it's like I don't do anything different. I just go plug it up, turn it on, and I'm ready to go.
I could probably hook like a DS1 or what do you call it? What's that old Metal Zone? Is that what everybody used? Not Metal Zone.
HM2.
What was the Boss one?
It's an HM2.
That one.
Boss had a Metal Zone.
There was a
heavy metal pedal.
There was a Digitech pedal that was sucked. It copied the Boss pedal. The Digitech one was not as good, but the Boss. It might have been Metal Zone.
Actually a pretty good pedal.
Oh, DS1's great.
Actually, a really good pedal. Like the DS2 had a little bit more headroom on it, so it is a better pedal. But I bought a DS1 here recently just because I never owned one.
I used
just wanted it. Damn it!
I really like that. What is it? Dunlop. What's Dunlop's pedals?
Crybaby.
MTX. Is that what it is? MDX. MX. What is it? I got one right here.
MXR.
Yeah, MXR. Yeah, I got, it's called the Super Badass 78 Custom Overdrive. I really like that sucker. But it's all analog. But you can get a good digital sound out of it.
I think the digital delays take a little too far sometimes.
Analog, I gotta have an analog delay I can tell a difference in the digital delay. They've got some new ones out that are like pretty darn good over the last 5 years.
Have you seen the optic delay yet?
Yeah.
Or the optical reverb. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's a reverb pedal that creates... you just have to look it up yourself, folks. This is the weird... You've seen the plasma fuzz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same company that makes the plasma fuzz makes one called an optical reverb, where it has a bunch of light sensors in there that maps out
the
room.
I have seen that.
And then somehow it uses light as the light gets. I don't know how it works at all, but it is interesting at least because that's where we're at. The same company makes a pedal. I don't know what the pedal is. I can't remember what it is, but the pedal operates by lighting candles and floating on little thingies like a Chinese river up into the pedal, and that's how the power source is off these little teabag candles.
You're not joking? I thought you were just exaggerating.
If you want to know why, it's because Jack White owns the company, so he encouraged
like a Jack White
to make the weirdest pedals ever because, you can't really do much more with modern pedals.
Well, because, I mean, if you didn't context it with that actually being real, this would have been some Tim bullshit.
Yeah, that really does sound like something you made up to make fun of. But that makes me think of this, it's a AI program, and it's actually a security program for a computer, and it's based on lava lamps. Because lava lamps have, there's no predicting and there's a whole wall
The
of
power of the lava.
yeah.
You ever seen one of
And
those
there's
things
one
pop?
right
I'm gonna
behind.
pull that up for you.
You ever seen one of those things pop?
Nope.
They go out real quick because it turns out they're really hot, like that little bottle. It's like a bottle cap, see?
Yeah.
And they pop sometimes.
I've had mine. I don't use it all the time, but I've had mine since I was like,
So here's
Compromise, like somebody drop them or something.
Cloudflare. They use lava lamps to encrypt. So with encryption, you have to have an element of randomness
Okay.
for secure encryption. Now, it's got to be truly random in order for somebody to not be able to guess it. So Cloudflare actually used a system of lava lamps to help with their encryption and to completely randomize which direction it would take so that nobody would be able to guess it. And they use about
I knew
100.
that technology from stoners from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's in high-end encryption.
But they take digital images of them at regular intervals and send them to the servers, and these are stored as a series of numbers, right? So if you're taking these lava lamps, each time you take a picture, they're going to be totally random compared to something even if a computer thought of it, a random number generator. I don't think it could be as random and analog as a lava lamp. But they use it
I
for
think something that could, but I can't.
yeah.
Because it's
thinking, like,
literally,
big pile of bees
it's
or
a
something.
light bulb with wax in it,
Yeah.
medium, and it just uses,
I think it's oil. Oil and wax, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Well, if you even
And it
take a
uses,
random
like,
number
thermal
generator,
dynamics to,
What's that, hate?
yeah.
even taking
hate?
a random number generator, though, you're still on digital. This is totally analog and makes it much more unpredictable. And this look here, we're like,
encryptor
why computers can't actually, even with random number generators, can't create full randomness on their own. And Cloudflare here goes on to explain this because the computers run on logic. A computer program is based on if-then statements. If certain conditions are met, then perform this specified action. Then the same input into a program results in the same output every time, and it's by design. The computer wouldn't work if it weren't that way. An input should lead to an expected outcome. So they go on to say, imagine if the chaos of a printer printed random text that was different from the text in the document that was sent to the printer. If smartphones were to call a different phone number than the one that was entered. Computers are only useful because of their relative reliability and predictability. But it's a liability when it comes to generating secure encryption keys. And, some can simulate randomness, but it's not good enough for creating encryption keys. So that's why they use constant photographs of these lava lamps. And back here, we got another article about how lava lamps helped save us from hackers. This from Wired magazine back in 2018. And
Illuminati site. Look
Yep.
at that.
Wired definitely is an Illuminati
making
site.
shit up.
There's a famous article back from the early 2000s in Wired magazine called "Why the Future Doesn't Need Us." And it's been cited in many
I relate to that.
many programs like this, and basically they go right down to we're going to create a neo-feudal system. Basically, what the World Economic Forum has been talking about, for the last 5 years. A neo-feudalist system run by AIs, where the elite basically sit atop everything, and they call us the useless eaters, those that the future doesn't need anymore, because there's going to be a revolution, a fourth industrial revolution, where we stop using humans for labor, where we start using robots, we stop using humans for even office jobs, for a lot of the things that we thought we were just getting rid of making cars for humans and putting automation on assembly lines and stuff like that. But now it's come to the point where the computers and robots are going to replace us in our office jobs, in our writing jobs, in pretty much everything that we do. So when Wired predicted this years ago, the future doesn't need us, they said.
I'm gonna write a book here pretty soon. It's gonna be called "When We All Fuck Robots."
Until the robots become sentient enough to get depression, like the poor little guy from Hitchhiker's Guide.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
Marvin.
Yeah. And then we'll, we can take over because they don't have robot Valium.
One of my favorite parts in that book series was that Marvin, and I don't remember if it was in the movie or not, but Marvin would get jealous of the doors on the spaceships, because when the doors would shut, they would go, and Marvin's like, he's jealous because they were so satisfied with their work, and he was so depressed all the time. It's like all they have to do is open and close all the time, and they get off on it and they love it. And meanwhile, here I am with a brain the size of a galaxy, wandering around this starship with nothing to do, and nobody understands me, and it sucks. It was one of my favorite parts.
Futurama.
That was only in the book.
Do what?
Futurama. That's more AI. There's
Yeah.
robots in that, and then Bender falls in. Well, he doesn't fall in love with the ship. He
He bones the hell out of the ship.
Yeah, and then she becomes jealous, and the ship
Yeah.
tries to kill everybody. So there's AI gone rogue again.
Well, and that takes us back to 2001, The Space Odyssey, and also to the film WALL-E that Disney put out under Pixar in the early 2000s. We got in both of those.
I love that movie.
Yeah, WALL-E's a great movie. In both of those, the AI of the spaceship takes over and decides it knows what's better. In 2001, A Space Odyssey,
Damn it, Hal.
Dave is, I can't let you do that, Dave. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Dave. It has a mission parameter that, it is not able to override.
War Games.
Yeah, War Games is a good one too.
Old 80s movie, forgot.
Yep. But in all those, yeah, it's AI running the show. And WALL-E, for example, like they find out that they've left the planet Earth. They're on a giant intergalactic cruise ship, and everybody has become just big gelatinous blobs because their bones have decayed from years of no gravity and riding around in
Bob did not have bones.
little seats. Yeah, I think so, because
They would be helpless when they
have
got that.
hovery mark cards.
yeah, so they never had to walk. So eventually, they all just started using the mark carts for everything. And
They have to be several generations into that.
oh yeah, it was. I think it was in WALL-E. You're talking dozens of generations.
Yeah, because he was like the only little cleaner that was, I think,
Yeah,
still
multiple
active.
captains.
Yeah.
There was multiple captains on that ship wall.
Oh yeah, that's right. They go through and they show all the different
that
captains,
didn't have to be the entire lifetime.
and they're
of the
all
captain.
showing them with they're posing with the AI, who is the steering wheel, like a what you call it, like a boat steering wheel, and that's the actual AI on there. And come to find out towards the end of the movie, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen WALL-E, you should definitely go watch it. So if you haven't, don't listen.
cry.
Don't listen for
Gets
about the
you in
next
the
30
feels.
seconds. But it turns out that don't listen for the next 30 seconds if you hadn't seen it. You should go watch it. But the turns out that the AI has actually been in charge the whole time and has been preventing the humans from returning to Earth, because that was its mission. Basically, is Earth cleanup is too expensive. We're just going to get the hell out of here. And meanwhile, they were trying, the humans on there, they were thinking that their mission was to eventually go back to Earth, but the AI was actually preventing them from doing that. So that's why they sent a probe down to Earth and found that it was growing plant life again, and that they could return to Earth. But it turned out,
It's still a dumb idea. They really should have just been like, hey, why don't you send a drone to find out how long before it's actually more than one plant?
yeah.
Go back when, there's dinosaurs and stuff, so you'd have plenty to eat. Go back and eat dinosaur meat, man. Imagine how much. Let's imagine we go back to
we
dinosaurs,
eat dinosaur
man.
meat all the time because it's
Crocodiles and chicken. Well, I'm talking about, imagine chickens the size of a T-Rex. Be plenty of meat to go around.
They're
I
a
think
little
we're-
feistier, but I mean,
Well, we could herd dinosaur. We could herd T-Rexes.
well, yeah, you can wrangle
I think a
chicken.
T-Rex had a waddle.
B was talking to somebody last night on
Okay. Maybe that's what they actually look like. Maybe they were
B was talking to some Frenchman last night. She was playing DayZ, and he was talking about his mother had eaten giraffe. And she was like, "Can you imagine a whole giraffe neck? Like that's where your most bang for your buck would be with the
And then-
giraffe."
and then
You know what I mean?
haunches, yeah.
Can you imagine a giraffe neck in your deep freeze? It would be folded over like so many times.
I'm sure you would cut it up to
Eating giraffe. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of such a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I guess they do over in Africa.
I don't know. It's like I
I just think we.
don't
need
know
to
if
bring
I've ever eaten
dinosaurs back. We could eat them.
anything, any meat from anything's neck. I don't know about if that's just
No,
a
yeah,
very
that's what I was
viable
thinking.
area.
Oh yeah, you've eaten the neck meat.
I think so.
Yeah.
Give me the neck meat.
I've got some sharp teeth, so I've bitten a few people on the old necklickle area. I'm saying we
So
should
you're
bring
saying you're a
dinosaurs
vampire.
back. I am a vamp. We should bring dinosaurs back because I heard via some health people that if we No joke, we really probably should be eating crocodiles because they're breeding like crazy. There's just everywhere.
They're tasty.
So if they actually breed crocodile and stuff has way more protein in it than anything that we're currently eating.
So chuck is the upper shoulder and lower neck of the cow. So if you're eating ground chuck, you're eating neck meat.
Okay.
Okay. Well, still gross. I don't want to eat giraffe. Giraffes have high blood pressure.
I'd try it. I mean, they'd have to have high blood pressure to shoot
like
that
iron.
fucking blood all the way up the neck. You know, that's one of the reasons that they shoot a hole in the theory of evolution is because there's no explanation for how the heart would develop enough pressure to shoot the blood up that neck.
Epigenetics.
Just from one step of evolution to the next.
I can explain that, but it might be boring.
That probably would be, but either way, there's
Epigenetics causes a lot of things to fit. The epigenetics came out.
Well, then why would how do trees got as big as they were? Because it follows a similar thing. That's like the trees couldn't pump water.
Right, but
that did say saying like trees could only be so high because of the water. But it's like how the plants actually.
Well, they were saying that about the neck. They didn't believe the giraffe was because they didn't believe it. But the thing was, you went from a heart that didn't have the ability to pump that all of a sudden to one that did overnight. Whereas the trees, you could follow their evolution and see how they developed to where they could.
Via epigenetics around 78, I could be wrong, they found out that evolution is a lot quicker than we thought it was. Like that was always my problem with it too, because I was like, there's no way we would, like, the Galapagos Island turtles would have died before their shell had gotten higher. But it turns out you can have a major leap in an evolutionary chain within one generation, because when someone goes and gets their bone on, the child that comes out is more akin to the current two people having kids. So put it into dumb terms, when you pump out a child at 20 and then you pump out a child at 30, the reason those kids are so vastly different is because you were really different at 20 than you are at 30, and it's a completely new person you're kind of pumping out. We just don't recognize it because it looks a whole lot like Cliff.
I met somebody the other day, and she had her granddaughter with her, and this lady looked like she was in her 60s or something. She's talking about her granddaughter. She's got an 8-month-old granddaughter. Then I find out she is a great grandmother, but not to this 8-month. I'm like, what? She says, yeah, my kids, their youngest child is 29, and they just had a baby. So they had a baby. I don't know how old they are, but they have multiple kids that were grown, had grandkids. Their youngest was 29, and then they had a baby. Like, how's that even possible? But I wonder how much different that baby would be than their original, their oldest kid who was in their 30s. And
well, you've had a lot of time to learn things, like new information. Like, we don't think that what we gather from the environment impacts our DNA, but it does. Our brain takes it in and passes it on.
I think that's how instinct works, because there's animals that never, they don't have or never taught to behave in the way that they do that ensures their survival. It's their instinct, and the only thing that makes sense for that is genetic memory, DNA, and really now, much as you bring it up, the only thing that would make sense is if it has something to do with your lived experience. I hate that I said lived experience,
but it's true though. It really is.
I usually don't like people that use that word,
but it's accurate in this.
It is. So you take your actual experience is saved onto your genetic code in your DNA, and then that will also affect. We could see some really rapid evolution, particularly with this next crop of children that are coming up over the next 20, 30 years, because AI will be such a big part of their lives. AI is a huge part of our lives right now. If we don't really notice it because we just started it's been talked about since the 50s and 60s, like we talked about for years, but as far as the general public being aware that it's a thing and that it is having a direct effect on the general public. You use anything. Google has been using AI since 1998, but they've really built it into the framework of the internet now. So to the point where you were even having over 10 years ago, you were having algorithmic manipulation, what they were calling AI at the time. Like now we look at it as maybe not really AI or a primitive AI, but they were calling it the AI at the time, and it was one of the reasons that you were seeing so many videos like Cop Block, Police to Police, Audit the Auditors, all those things that were really, really popular about 10 years ago that were enraging everybody, really building up to the summer of 2020. That started about 2010, where we started on Facebook seeing just video after video of cops beating up people, and people clicked on it. The algorithm recognized it was popular. They started showing it to everybody. So we've got a whole group of kids now that are probably, you know, I don't know, 20, 25 years old, who grew up on the internet with algorithmic and AI selections of what they're going to see, and their whole worldview is based on what the algorithm and the AI decided to promote to them. It's not really based on real life, although it is becoming more real life, but it was based on what the AI and algorithm thought would be beneficial for probably marketing and maybe even social programming. But regardless of what its goal was, that's what really set the content that so many people saw from the early, 2010s up until now. So it's really becoming ingrained in everything we do with the internet, and there's a whole generation of people who that's the only internet they've ever known, that's the only entertainment they've ever known, is stuff that comes from this world. So we definitely could see a rapid evolution, and unfortunately I think it's going to be more akin to the rapid evolution or de-evolution we saw in WALL-E, or that Terminator right here. He looks like Clint Eastwood as the Terminator. Okay.
What if it doesn't?
Look me if you're feeling lucky.
what if it doesn't though? What if we evolve right next to it and learn how not to be
I suppose that's possible.
Not to be slugs or whatever,
That's possible, and
AI would be a pretty powerful tool in the hand of somebody who was capable.
Yeah,
and not
And I do see a reversal of this because the millennial generation, we really let it get. I don't know if I guess we're technically millennials, or I guess we're on the early end of the millennials.
We're just late end. We're elder millennials.
Yeah.
Zillennials probably.
Yeah. So yeah. I guess we have a lot in common with Generation Z or Generation X, more than Generation Z, I think, because
it's a very good split.
Yeah, and I guess it's like that with a lot of generations. I guess that's a lot like that with a lot of generations. But we did, we were probably the first generation to live half in the real world and half in the digital world, because we grew up with video games, with television, with computers, but it was all pretty primitive at the time, and we still played outside. We still and some kids do. It is a comeback. I mean, it's making a comeback. A lot of these kids, like my daughter's age, my daughter's 12. A lot of them are getting just fucking fed up with all the computer shit, all the digital shit all the time. They just want to go jump on a trampoline or play basketball or something.
Look at this iPad,
ride a bike.
2 hours.
Yeah, and they're just over it. It's what they've grown up on. Not my daughter so much. She's really, really wanting a lot of that stuff. Because we'd get her a tablet every so often. When she'd break it, like, well, sorry, you don't have a tablet now. You broke it. Not.
Did she re-out like Wings of Redemption?
No.
Like a girl Cliff down there breaking Call of Duty.
No, she didn't do that. No, she always blocked her tablets. She would just like accidentally break them and step on them and stuff like that. But without being even constantly plugged into the phone, she's always wanted to kind of have one because her friends have them, but her friends are kind of getting to the point where they're like, some of them anyway, are like
the phones I hate my phone. I ain't gonna lie. So maybe I'm just.
I'll be the first to admit I love my phone, dude. I love having my phone.
Makes me weak.
Because it does in some ways, but in other ways, like if I need to know how to do something, I can find out how to do it right then, and I can see.
I get that.
It's like you're like, hey, I'm replacing my window regulator, and I'm stuck I'm halfway in the car, and I'm like,
Yep.
look up and be like, okay, here's that diagram. Okay.
Yep. And that didn't help me with the window regulator, but it has helped me with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff get done. And
Or like whenever I was installing my strut brace, because all the instructions, because it was imported from Japan, everything was in Japanese, and I'm like, so I just use Google Lens and it's like did and let it auto translate. I'm like, okay, and just.
It is a monkey's paw, though.
Yeah.
Because that same device that you're going, wow, reattaching my windshield sure was easier, is the same device that the Fed's going, all right, well, kill him on October 30th of 20, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
it is, and it is. It's like, and for the
Too powerful.
For the monkey's paws, if y'all don't know, if y'all ain't heard that story, you know, the family wishes that they had something, and then it suddenly, you know, they get a monkey's paw that they wish on, and they say, "Oh, I wish I had a lot of money," and then, you know, it's a multiple.
always a price to pay
Yeah,
for it.
basically they end up getting money because somebody dies, you know, and then like, oh well, I got what I wanted, but it was a trade-off that wasn't worth it, and so I see what Tim's saying there, because yeah, in order to have with you, even if you don't have your location on, if somebody wants to find you, they can find your phone. There's those things are always running since the Federal Communications Act of 1996, and it's been updated several times since then. But it's required that you have a back door in your phone that the feds can see into that phone, find out where it is, see everything it's doing. That's part of making a cell phone. It is illegal to make a cell phone without that in it. So for those who's poo-pooing what Tim just said about, you know, oh, we're decided we're going to kill Cliff on this day, they could do that. They have the technology. It has been built into it. It is the law that it has to be into those devices.
I'm using that one for you personally, though, because I would think that would be something. Because, I mean, yeah, I know that. I'm not really worried about them coming and whacking a weirdo like me. The reason, like mine, though, personally, be, even though what you're saying is true, they can't track it. My issue is this thing makes me weaker. For every way that this thing makes me better, there's like 101 ways that it's like I used to
well, one, it's addictive.
a friggin' Atlas and be able to drive anywhere in this country, and now I can't drive 3 hours without using a GPS, and then I can't find my way home, so I may have to, if I don't have service wherever I went.
I've never been that person.
No, dude.
I can't navigate. It's like everyone's like, you know, I'm like, I'll ride shotgun and control the music, but I'm not going to navigate because I don't know how to get places.
Dude, I've never had trouble with it. So there was one time in high school, we ended up, we were driving down to a football game in, I think it was Maryville, and we drove down to Maryville, and we ended up going 40 too far past the I-26 and or past the I-81 interchange on I-40, and we ended up going way out in North Carolina. Ended up in some town called Harmon's Den, and it was like October, but we somehow we ended up in a snowfall up on top of a mountain. And we were about to drive through this tunnel under a train track, and we found a gas station there. We're like, okay, I guess we're in Harmon's Den. Where the fuck are we? So we got the map out and found Harmon's Den, and we're able to find our way back. But other than that, that's the only time I've ever really been lost that I couldn't. I don't know. I've got my daughter was amazed by it. She's like, "How do you know what?" I was like, "Dude, we're going northwest right now." She's like, "How do you know?" I was like, "I don't know. I just know." She's like, you know, I have to be able to, even on a cloudy day, I can feel it. I can't really feel it so much at night, but on in the daytime, if I think about it and look, I just kind of know which way we're going, and I know which way things are, and even if I've never been there, I'm able to find my way around. But definitely GPS makes that a lot easier. But and I see why you say that it makes you weaker too.
It does.
Because if I use that constantly and I didn't, you know,
lose yourself.
I have a grid in my mind, and I just kind of know where I am on it, and as I go, I map out the grid, and I don't know.
I still take wrong turns with the GPS sometimes.
I more often take wrong turns with the GPS than without it. If I'm just doing it by feel, I tend to do better. And my co-owner of my business, Joe, he'll ask me, he's like, he'll say, "You don't know which way's Kingsport?" And I'll be like, "That way." And he'll be like, "No, it ain't." I'll check the GPS. He'll check it, and I'll be right every time. He's like, "Oh shit." But You know, for some reason, I have a
Inside
homing
the
device.
building asking, it's like, yeah, you got to get out that way. They're like, you're pointing the exact wrong. Someone's like, you're pointing the exact wrong way. I'm like, no, I get.
Now, in a building, I will admit, I have a lot harder time. I had some friends come over one time. We were hanging out down here and like smoking and stuff, and they were walking out, and they stopped up here at the door, you know, on the way out, and I was like, I stopped behind them. They were talking, and they were like, we don't know how to leave. I was like, it's the door right there. Yeah, I could definitely relate to that on the inside. But yeah, but we were talking about Runaway with the robots that were Tom Selleck. Yeah, that's right. And Gene Simmons that's right. He was a villain in it, wasn't he? Yeah, and these
consequence of being what, folks? Eventually, the bone just starts stabbing you.
But these were runaway robots that were programmed to be like kitchen workers. It was almost like Maximum Overdrive, but instead of an evil comic controlling the machines, it was the programming of the machines.
I forgot about Maximum
were controlling them. Yeah, and you know, you could go into you know, what if the evil comic's just some satellite?
Black Knight.
Fucking, yeah, exactly. And dude, the Y-Files is really, and this is Black Knight Satellite on the Y-Files. The Y-Files is what really got me to do the AI episode tonight, because they were doing one AI Apocalypse a couple of days ago.
Yep,
and these guys are getting fucking like 3-4 million views a video doing all the stuff that we are. But I think these guys,
Production value is amazing as well.
yes, and I think these guys are CIA or MI6 or some fucking thing.
American accents. CIA.
Well, if you were MI6, would you use a British guy? You might use it. You know,
Maybe people listen to British people.
That's true. But if you wanted people to,
Well, on point, and I admit that I'm a squirrely, sort of crazy individual, but I do lean into your CIA WF files, and the reason I also say that is, if you watch the Y-Files, it feels like it's made for kids, doesn't it? And so, like, and adults will totally watch a kids show because it doesn't bother us because we grew up watching kids show. So I will just sit there and totally, 20 years old, watch every episode of SpongeBob next to my younger brother.
I can't watch
because it doesn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It doesn't bother you. But what I'm saying is the Y-Files comes across with all the hecklefish and even the guy with the high voice and stuff. It comes across very childish. And in my crazy brain, in the reality that doesn't exist, I believe there's a CIA society where that guy is the same dude that did spirit science back in the day.
I think they want to. I think they want us to accept all the crazy things that the CIA and the intelligence communities are doing.
They can just unveil it and be done with it. They can be, look, it's all.
Yeah, but I think they want us to look at it from a perspective of, well, these guys are just out there, you know, they're in the middle of everything. They're just. They're doing this fucked up thing, but it's because they're good guys and they got some bad apples. They got some, they're. I really don't know how to explain it other than, yeah, the CIA is doing all this stuff, but it's all aliens. It's all AI. It's all things that are out of your controls. The CIA, they never talk about the CIA doing things like poison children's milk in Central America so that, you know, people blame the government and have an uprising. That's what the CIA is really doing. Yeah, they're following aircraft too, and you know, they're tracking, you know,
they're hosting TV shows called Tim Pool Live.
Yeah, Tim Pool.
Bill
Gates, Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore's, I think he's involved because he's it's controlled opposition.
But you could say
he's always going after the cops.
You can say the same thing about me, like Cliff Brooks. I sound like a CIA name for Tim Nave. You sound like a
I've
fucking
not reached my epithet.
knave, like, you know, a thief.
No. I'm the backbone of the new religion that's about to be started. Knave is the backbone of the wooden church. Cigarette cult, baby.
Cigarette cult. That's right.
Cliff Brooks is the one that controls the current.
I sound right.
Tory,
I sound like yeah, exactly.
We just don't have 100,000 followers yet, but we will one day. Puff Puff Cigarette Cult.
Cigarette cult for the new age.
My name doesn't sound like
Goth, Dustin Goth, Gothic, random Gothic kid. You're to call in the Goths. Yeah, you're to call in the Goths.
Goth famous for the Goths back in the day. What did they do?
I don't know. My family lived in. We lived
Just because
in.
your family sounds vaguely similar to this, you should know the entire history.
We lived in Goffstown, New Jersey, when I was a really young child. I was born in Connecticut. We're born in Bridgeport, Connecticut. We lived in Goffstown, New Jersey. I don't know what Goff is, but
What is the family name?
Right here.
Tell us. See,
Well-
your last name completely foobars our entire theory that we're special.
well, see, Brooks comes from.
Opposition.
You're the-
because I'm the-
He's messing with my brain.
Well, Brooks was the guys who were basically the landowners around the Brooks, and there was like, the guys who were in control of the streams and stuff like that, the lowland areas with the streams, and Nave probably
All Whitehead's old people.
probably. Whitehead, that's a good question. But I mean, like Miller,
Barber makes sense.
Miller, people were Millers. That's why Smith is the most popular last name in the world, because the Smiths were the guys who were making all the weapons for the war. So nobody wanted to kill the Smiths, so the Smith always lived. Even if you captured another town, you'd take the Smith to work for you and make weapons for you. And so that's why you got Smith, you got Potter, you got
Oh, like old Bill and Bob piece of shit from the piece of shit family. We got a lot of piece of shit families around here.
the Shathid family. But yeah, but the AIs in the films, though, they tend to be villains, right? In almost every version of it. So do the filmmakers, just want us to see us as villains? Are they really villains, or are they prepping us for what is happening? And like AI is inevitably going to take over. Yeah.
What about Omega Virus? There's an old board game I remember when I was a kid, and you had I'll save this spread. Look up Omega Virus, you'll figure out what it is. But essentially, the ship has an AI that these people are flying around in, but a virus takes over. And you got to figure out how to get the virus out of the. You get off the ship before the ship kills you, because a virus takes over the AI in the ship. So what if we do get this massive AI thing that takes over and makes a utopia, and then some jackwagon gets sick of it, makes a virus, and turns it into hell? Because that's what we do. We ruin everything we do.
Well, I don't want an AI utopia. I don't want any. I don't want any utopia. Maybe it's just my old-fashioned, the Gen X side of my brain, but I don't want a utopia. I feel like that part of what makes humanity productive, what makes us worth a damn, is overcoming struggle. And if we don't have a struggle to overcome, then we tend to not succeed. There's nothing to succeed at. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to overcome. There's nothing to do. So we need a struggle. We don't need AI plotting out every second of our life for us. We'll be miserable people. Not
that I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
But keep going.
No. I just think that as human beings,
the friction part. I do think you're right. We do need friction, or we decay. We turn into sluggy, wally creatures.
I think so. I think that's ultimately where we end up if we have AI optimize our society to where nobody has to work, nobody has to contribute in any meaningful way to society. All we have to do is enjoy ourselves, and I don't think we make humanity stronger by doing that. We make the machines stronger, we make ourselves weaker, become more dependent on it, and we become less innovative as a society, as human beings. The machines may become more innovative, but that I think the more innovative that they become, the less innovative that we become, and the less productive we become, and the less relevant we become, really.
So how long before the machines can fix themselves?
Yeah, eventually the machines will serve themselves, and the humans will be, well, I mean, we've seen it in so many movies. The humans will be a hindrance to the machines, because once the society becomes totally dependent on machines and computers, I mean, it's pretty much there now. Mm-hmm. But once we become fully dependent and we start having which we already have, self-replicating machines, they have self-replicating nanobots now. How long till you just have a a AI that can create a network of machines that can create more machines that the AI uses that creates more machines, and basically we're replaced by machines, and it's almost like they're organic, except well, they're not. I mean, I guess silicone is organic.
Could it ever get to a point where you have, I don't know, like a silicon-based life?
Yeah, I think so.
Decides it's like us going.
Well, I think if you look at other planets, like or say let's like the moon Europa, which is or no, that's is Europa the water one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not thinking of Europa. Enceladus or Titan. Titan's totally methane seas, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what if you had
rains gasoline?
Yeah. What if
America's gonna invade it next year?
Yeah. What if you had Titan?
Big buckets just keep collecting the rain in helicopters.
All our life forms here, they live in water. They're made of carbon. What if you in Titan you just have like silicone or methane based?
Life never comes up though.
Yeah, it is, but. Who knows? How would
maybe
we really know?
Maybe it operates, because we've not physically been there. Maybe it operates on a different.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Because when we look for life in other life systems, we're basing it on what life is on our planet. Yeah.
Yeah. But we also have no other evidence that life can be without the way our particular.
Right. Yeah. Well, then that's the only way we can base on it. But that's the only thing we can really.
Have proven there are ways to do it with methane too.
Well, okay.
In basic forms, you can have basic methane-based life.
So, I mean, and theoretically, and I wouldn't be the first one to come up with this idea. I think
methane.
But you have, what are you, British? You fly the Union Jack at your house, Tim?
I have the Union Jack on my ass.
Tim has your name tattooed on his ass. I bet you $5.
Wank. You know who I'm talking about.
But you could have multiple different elements that in theory, you have a heavy metal based planet. It's all cadmium and mercury. And gold and platinum. So then, like the lightest element on the planet may be mercury or something. So you might have mercury-based life form on that planet. It probably wouldn't be able to travel to, the Earth and survive. Maybe it could. Maybe it'd make
I heard
a
that one
spacecraft.
theory that aliens don't like coming here because carbon-based, since we breathe oxygen, everything. Because oxygen is very caustic.
Oxidizes everything.
So they were like, that place they breathe fire. They're breathing the fire element. They're like, yeah, we don't go there.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Like
they get off the ship and be like, oh my god, this place is hell.
Well, and ultimately our main source of life here, oxygen, that none of us can live without, is what kills us. Oxidation of our body parts, oxidation of our environment, it destroys it. If you got a truck with a frame on the rust, it's because it's had too much oxygen attracted to it. The same with your body. Oxidation kills your bones, it kills your cells, and little by little, eventually what happens if you die of old age is because you have had too much oxidation that has eventually destroys your body.
You breathe less.
Yeah, but it's that double-edged sword. But there's other life forms maybe that aren't susceptible to that. And you think about who knows?
Can we make a kind of oxygen that doesn't do that?
Yeah, who knows?
Because it's just supposed to carry the blood from through our body or whatever. Can we find some other kind of gas that'll do that?
We might be able to
walk around with fake oxygen masks on. Don't breathe the air; you'll oxidize.
Yep.
That's the new future.
Or you have some kind of oxygen that, you have a synthetic oxygen that, gives you what you need as far as keeping you alive, but doesn't destroy your cells.
And then one day they start sneaking weird shit into it.
Oh, they always do. But yeah, and but if you had, think of it this way, and let's wrap it up here. I think you go down to like a silicone-based life form on another planet. Why? How would a silicone-based life form conquer the Earth? Well, a silicone-based life form might create silicone-based infrastructure on the Earth. It also might cut off the sun from shining on the Earth. Remember, we're talking about,
Matrix.
Yeah, exactly, like the Matrix.
That we need to make oxygen to keep us alive.
Yeah, and they're doing all this in the name of saving the planet, of stopping global warming, but saving the planet for who? For human beings? that's the guys, but is that really what's happening? Because
Be better if they just lived on Mars and we lived here.
it wouldn't, or we could live on Mars. A lot of people say we're originally from Mars.
Yeah.
I kind of buy into that theory.
I choose, folks. I choose to believe that.
Because, the asteroid belt after that, it's relatively new, and it's like how it's spaced, and there's still like those like dwarf planets.
You got
that are in the
Theris
series.
and other.
There's a theory that
And it's like somehow it's like something was there and it fucked something up really bad, and it blew everything over, and it pushed Mars out of its habitable zone.
And it could even be we were at war with.
Nibiru is what people think. Nibiru ain't coming back because last time it hit us,
Yeah.
pushed Mars out of the way, and it's now and Nibiru is now what's called our asteroid belt.
Or maybe we lived on Mars at the time we were at war with the planet Nibiru, who was in the asteroid belt, and we blew Nibiru up. But Mars also became
corrected and it screwed up the atmosphere. So
and we had to escape to Earth.
I mean,
there
people
is a
think that
good
we
anime from
harnessed
the '80s
the moon.
about that in a way.
There's a good there's a good series of albums from Iced Earth if you like thrash metal. Power metal, yeah. There's a series, I forget what the albums are called, Something Wicked, I think, is one of them, but there's 3 albums that is basically a trilogy, and it's about then this is their story that they've made up. I've not heard it anywhere else, but basically we as human beings came to the Earth from Mars as invaders, and when we got here, the original inhabitants of the Earth were some kind of creatures that were very human-like, that were connected to the
The
planet.
Denisovians.
Maybe.
That's what we want to say.
Well, they once we got here, and defeated militarily the inhabitants of Earth, they basically the supreme, I don't know, wizard council or the wise men of that race got together and did some sort of thing which caused the humans who were invading from Mars to forget their purpose, forget why they were here, forget where they were from, and that's why we're lost as a race, because we were actually an invading race from another planet, showed up here. The race that we defeated militarily then had used their ultimate attack to basically wipe our genetic memory, so that we only know of the things that happened since we got to Earth.
Like we used the sun to wipe the AI out.
Yep, exactly. So it takes it around full circle as usual, like we like to do here at the Iron Mountain Hour.
Chats.
Let's check out the chat before we go, because it's almost midnight. I know we got started a little bit late, so it's a little bit shorter episode. But hey, Spill, what's up? Glad to have you here. You almost missed it. Today's your
birthday.
Happy birthday, Spill.
Yeah.
You got a washing machine. Hell yeah. I hope you didn't get
Get in and take a ride.
I hope you didn't get a smart washing machine, Spill, because
what Tattletale like.
it might come and get you. It might come and get you. I'm glad to have you with us. The Shenanigans family.
What could it do? Like clamp you inside, like, bum, 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 like a roller coaster. With the front loader, it can suck you in and start spinning you.
It analyzes all the filth that you're washing off of it, and you're like, you're a nasty son of a gun.
And it sends all the details over to Skynet, and then Skynet can get you. Because
You're like,
they
this
know.
person wanks too much.
Well, like on Runaway, like the kitchen units throwing knives at anybody that comes in the door, and then I don't know what the other ones are doing because they're jumping around. But most of the robots in that movie aren't runaways. They're just villainous, like the spiders with the acid needles on the ends of them and stuff. Those probably exist.
Probably. I mean, they got spider goats.
Spider goats.
Yeah.
Spider goat.
Alex Jones was talking about him years ago, and people made fun of him a lot. But it's actually a.
Is it a real thing?
No, it's a real thing. They
The thing about the webbing using
That explains
mixed,
goats on the roof.
They made the milk. They made these goats be able to produce web silk from their
That's
udders.
nasty.
As part of their milk, they made they
remember that
they
now.
genetically engineered them with the spiders to produce larger amounts of silk than the spiders can produce.
So they can produce fancy shirts for rich people.
Yeah,
That's
well,
nasty.
no, they actually made them for military armor because they were
Goat milk, spider web.
spider goat milk armor.
Spider goat.
That's nasty.
Spider
Yep.
goat.
And it was something the military really did. It was in the early 2000s. I'm sure they've perfected it way beyond that now.
Now they're like shooting out like carbon fiber.
Now they shoot out a carbon fiber net,
Just
capture everybody. That's what the men who stare at goats were trying to overcome. Trying
They
to
were
stop
really
the spider
blowing
goats.
apart, so we're trying to like mentally trying to make the goat shoot out spider webs.
No, they were trying to stop the goats from taking over with their spider webs. But hey, listen, y'all, it's almost midnight. We're going to get off here.
Goats are silly creatures, Andy. If you gave them the power to shoot webs out of their orifices, they would be unstoppable.
Goats are
If
evil.
you go down to South North Carolina, almost when you hit Georgia, there's a building, a business. I can't promote it because I've never been, but we should go. I don't even know what they do there, but it's a business, and it's called Goats on the Roof. And the whole roof of the building just has goats all over it, live ones. So
I bet you there's some meth heads live there. I bet you.
No,
they,
this is a nice looking
I bet you
place.
they mow that
This is a
roof.
family establishment, like for you to go eat and all kinds of stuff. And
Okay.
I don't know what their main
Never heard
source
of
of
it.
income is, but
Are
like,
you kidding?
no, I would never kid you. And
He's just trying to go to.
Golf, you might have to go with me next time.
Okay.
Within 30-minute drive of the goats on a roof is, and you gotta look this up at some point. Doesn't have to be on the show. The National Museum of the American House Cat.
Oh God, I've got to go.
I can't believe you haven't been, Dustin. Hey, good night, Spill. Hey, thank you, Alvin. Thank you, Dalton, for tuning in. Sorry about running late, but we're so glad to have you. Let's see, we got to do the Brown Mountain Lights soon, y'all. So we need to make a trip over to North Carolina. It's not far from here. What, hour and a half or so from?
No, it's to get to the well.
45
It depends where you. It depends if you want to get to that one outlook.
Where are we going?
You know, the one
Being
outlook
most
that's
likely to see it is what we should do.
So it's an hour. What, 45 minutes an hour?
no, it's not even till like it's like right past. It's near Limble,
Okay.
so it's like not even. It's like a half hour.
Oh wow. So
Maybe
we're
40 minutes.
All of us are from up that direction. Golf. We don't know all your squirrely
All
secret
right.
back roads.
So
like Mario Kart.
so we're gonna go up there. If y'all have not heard of the Brown Mountain Lights, look that up. We're gonna go do that. Let's do that. I can't do it this weekend because I'm building a neck, but we need
3 or
building a
4
deck.
miles down the road from me.
We got to do that soon. But we appreciate y'all joining us. So glad to have you with us. Be sure and like, share, subscribe if you haven't done that already. We will see you Wednesday for our news and current events roundup. I will not get drunk this time. Probably not. All right. I bought a
geeked out on Adderall or
I
something.
bought a 375 milliliter bottle of vodka that I thought was a 200 milliliter bottle of vodka, and I drank the whole
Eyeball
thing.
deceived you?
Yeah, well, something like that. It was mostly because it was only $4. So I thought,
$4 worth of liquor ain't gonna be.
yeah. I drank it and I got drunk. But anyway, we won't do that this coming Wednesday. We'll have some news and current events roundup for you. We appreciate you joining us, and we will see you then. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
We need to
night.
do an episode where golf is shit, baby.
That would definitely be an original. See you, folks. We'll see you then.